Mike Norvell said some things and made some promises in his introductory press conference 4.5 years ago. How well has he delivered on what he promised back then? I'm going to pull the receipts and try to be fair, but also honest about what Mike Norvell said in his opening press conference for the Seminoles. Now, at times, his press conference felt like a Southern Baptist sermon. Coach Norvell came in and immediately won the presser. His energy was phenomenal. The way you felt his passion was something that I think FSU fans were longing for after the end of Jimbo and the Taggart era. But let's go ahead and break down his promises and see how well he's done since making them.
But it is a new day for Florida State. It's a new opportunity. I can tell you that we're going to bring a new age approach to everything that we do with old school values and an old school philosophy. This is going to be a program that you have to work for everything. It's going to be a program that's built off true core family values of service, sacrifice, and respect. Because we have an iconic brand. We have a special opportunity. And it's going to take each and every one of us to be a part of that journey together to continue to elevate us to where we need to go.
Obviously, I like the fact that he brought up the iconic brand. I like the fact that he brought up the place and how special Florida State is. But I like the new age approach versus the old school values, the work, the sacrifice, and the respect. What I think he was doing when he brought this up, and I think he's lived up to that completely. What I think he was doing when he brought that up was really painting the picture back to Coach Bowden, being a student of the game, being somebody who I've asked Mike Norvell this about his thoughts and memories of Coach Bowden. He said, look, as a kid growing up in Texas, I had Florida State stuff. I knew who Coach Bowden was. But I think he was pointing people back to that. I think he was pointing people back to, hey, this is the way that Coach Bowden won. We're going to be successful with the family values, the core values of service, sacrifice, and respect. He also talked about the work. He's worn a shirt every offseason that just says work across it. We've had tons of thumbnails with that message and that picture of him having the work on the front of the shirt. It's something that he's preached since day one. Listen, we're going to be new and innovative, and we're going to have a new way that we approach things, but we are going to build this thing off of work, service, sacrifice, and respect. All right, let's take a look at the next clip.
There's a tradition of excellence here. There is a standard. That tradition is what brought me here. That expectation, an opportunity to compete at the highest level, to compete for championships. We understand the process. We understand the work that's going to go into it. But I can tell you, you chose the right man to come be a part and to lead this program, because we're going to work on that each and every day in all that we do.
The tradition of excellence, the standard at Florida State. He said this at the very beginning of the press conference. I didn't clip this part, but he said, how you do anything is how you do everything. Something that he's been famous for saying over these last 4.5 years. And that tradition of excellence, that standard, again, what's he doing here? He's pointing back to the past. He's pointing back to the glory days. He's pointing back to the dynasty and saying, hey, if we're ever going to get there, if we're ever going to get close to what we were back in the 90s, back in the days when everyone feared Florida State, it is going to take a standard and something that we're intentional about every single day. Now, the next couple are when he really makes promises of what he's going to do. Before we get to that, I do want to take a quick moment and ask you guys a question. Have you ever Googled yourself? Have you ever Googled your name, your phone number, your email, your address? Well, I did that recently, and as you can see on the screen, what comes up is maybe not the most comforting thing. And in fact, when I Googled myself, I instantly felt vulnerable and was worried about my private info ending up in the wrong hands. You know, data brokers sell your personal information to scammers and spammers, and people may target you negatively. All of your info is out there. That's why I've been using Aura. Aura is sponsoring today's video, and they show me which data brokers are selling my info. They also automatically submit opt-out requests for me. They help me clean up my information and reduce the amount of spam that I get. I don't know if you guys saw this, but recently AT&T said that over 73 million customer records, that's both existing and former customers, were released on the dark web. Now, they recommended that those affected use strong passwords, monitor their account, and consider either credit freezes or fraud alerts from the credit bureau. Well, Aura does all of this for me. And best of all, I don't have to download several different apps just because a company like AT&T couldn't keep my data secure. Now, if my info was compromised in an AT&T data breach or any breach like that, I wouldn't worry. Aura is always on, and they're always doing the hard work of keeping me safe. Now, I value my privacy, and I also value yours as a listener and follower of Double Fries No Slaw. You can go to aura.com/FSU and start a free 2-week trial right now. I've linked that in the description. With Aura, you not only get the credit monitoring, the data monitoring, they also give you access to antivirus, VPN, a password manager, and more. There's not a better deal out there. Go to aura.com/FSU and take advantage of our deal today. All right, let's roll the next clip.
I can tell you that this is going to be a program that's built for playmakers. This is going to be a program that is going to showcase all of the skills and talents of those young men that I talked about. We're going to do it by challenging them in every aspect to be the best version of themselves each and every day. I can tell you that we're going to have a football team that's going to play with a certain focus, with a certain pride, understanding what we stand for and what we represent. Our Seminole football team is going to play smart. I believe that is one of the most important things that you must do as a football team and a football program. We're going to have a football team that's focused on discipline, on structure, on making sure that we can be innovative in our approach schematically, but also we have a football team that understands the importance of the knowledge that they have. Because most people talk about playing fast, and we're going to do that. But if you don't play smart, man, you can play fast going in the wrong direction and you're going backwards. We're going to have a team that understands that our knowledge will be our greatest talent. And then we're going to play fast because the confidence of who we are, what we do, how we train, and the unbelievable skill that we're going to recruit here to be able to showcase these great players and individuals.
Maybe we talked about the offense built for playmakers. You think about the guys like Trey Benson. You think about the guys like Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson and Jordan Travis, certainly. The incredible plays that were made over the last several years. And those are the things that immediately stick out in your mind. But when you move past that, the offense built for playmakers, right? A team built for playmakers, because it's really both sides with Verse and Tatum and guys on the defensive side of the ball too. But when he talks about the focus and the discipline and playing smart, the game I go back to, the thing that sticks out to me the most is that UF game at the end of 2023. The second to last game that we think about, right? It still amazes me that Florida State was able to go into that game without their leader, without their quarterback, into the toughest environment that they played in last year, a night game in the swamp, and they got a horrible penalty to start the game that gave Florida a touchdown and gave them 4 extra points. They got spit on, didn't react, didn't throw a punch, didn't take a swing. Their backup is scrambling for his life, slides down feet first, and gets absolutely clobbered on a dirty play by a UF defender, a team with no discipline, a team with no pride, a team with no focus or doesn't play smart, horrible structure. Basically, the anti-Florida State is what the Gators are at this point under Napier. And Florida State didn't react to any of those things. They kept their discipline. They kept their focus. They continued to play smart. They focused on the structure and what they needed to do in that moment. And you think about getting spit on. You think about watching your quarterback take an absolute dirty blow to the head, and you don't react to that. You don't go out and put yourself in a worse position and get another 15 yards or whatever the situation. That is what sticks out in my mind. a team that is going to keep that focus, a team that is going to play smart, a team that is going to have that discipline. And those aren't the only situations. Coach talked about playing fast, and the last guy that was in here talked about how fast we were going to be. Lethal simplicity, right? But a lot of times how fast we were going was going in the wrong direction. I don't think that was Norvell necessarily taking a shot. I think that's just kind of the words he used. But what a parallel, because a lot of times we were going the wrong way. We were going so fast, we were lining up the wrong way under Taggart. And so, again, I don't think that was any kind of a shot, but I did laugh when I heard that. I think Norvell checks the box on this one. I think that the way that this team has played over the last couple of years has been disciplined. They don't get a lot of dumb penalties. They're not making stupid mistakes like Florida is under Napier still. And I think that's pretty impressive to see. Let's play the next clip.
We're going to have a football team that plays physical. Toughness is going to be displayed every single day. Not only physically, but mentally.
Yeah, this ties into the last one, right? Mental toughness. But I think about the physical toughness too. I think about Jordan Travis absolutely shedding UF defenders. I think about Trey Benson absolutely carrying Miami guys on his back down there in South Florida as he rolled into the end zone. I think about the way that Benson stumbled into the end zone this year in a physical play. I think about the way that Jared Verse picked up an offensive lineman and threw him through UF's quarterback when we played them. The rivalry games certainly stick out more than others, but I think about Kalen DeLoach coming in and blindsiding Cade Klubnik in the biggest play of the season. I think about the physical toughness that Florida State displayed. Every year when Florida State would get to fall camp over the last several years, it would be, man, they finally look like a physical football team now. They finally look like a Division I football team, offensive, defensive lines now. And I think that physical toughness is something that has shown up over and over and over again. I love this next one. I think the emphasis on this next one, the story he tells here, is one of my favorites. Check it out.
You're going to see toughness displayed in special teams. I believe that is the backbone of your program. People can talk about offense and defense, but if you want to see a team that has tremendous culture, tremendous passion, tremendous belief in each other, watch them on special teams. I was fortunate that coming from Memphis, I remember when I took the job there, it had been 20 years since there had been a kickoff return for a touchdown. I stood in front of that team, and the first thing I told them, I don't know what we're going to do on O, I don't know what we're going to do on D, but I guarantee you we're going to take a kick back to the house for a touchdown. 4 years later, we're the #1 team in the country with 11 kickoff returns for touchdowns because of buy-in, because of culture, because of toughness. Young men willing to give them themselves for the betterment of the team. That's what we're going to stand for.
Did Florida State special teams not improve under Mike Norvell? Really one of the more fun aspects of this team, seeing what Fitz was able to do. Looking at Mastromano, obviously in the kick and punt return games, with Keon back there at punt return this year, and Deuce Spann taking one back when you needed it big time against Duke. Trey Benson taking that opener back against BC. A couple of kick returns for a touchdown, a couple punt returns that shoestring tackles would have been touchdowns, but set you up big against both rivals and in a lot of situations. Florida State special teams are infinitely better than they were. And the passion is there. Florida State puts their playmakers out there. They've got guys absolutely lighting other people up on special teams. I think Mike Norvell and his crew check the box here as well. A couple more and we'll be done. But I do really like this one. I like the way that he said this one. And if he'd have known what was going to take place 4 years later, I think it would have blown his mind how true and prophetic this one rang.
And then lastly, we're going to be a football team that's passionate to finish everything that we do. They always talk about, they remember what you do in November, right? We're going to finish games. We're going to finish plays. Our effort will be outdone by no one. We will play with tremendous passion, energy, and we will finish all that we do.
Passionate to finish, and what you do in November being everything. And I think Florida State set itself up well to be able to do that. Their strength and conditioning, we'll give Coach Storm some love, has been phenomenal. And they look a lot more fresh than a lot of teams in November and December. But if you look at what they've done the last 2 years, in November and December, they are 10-0. They're 4-0 both years in November, and they're 2-0 both years in December. Wins in against Oklahoma and a win against Louisville. Passionate to finish with anything you do. At the ACC Championship, I looked over at my buddies. I've told this on this show before. At the ACC Championship, Louisville gets the ball back one final time, and I looked at my buddies and said, I need 2 more sacks. And on first down and fourth down, the Seminoles got them and finished the game. They finished the season, they finished the game, they finished their college careers, and they were passionate about it. And the way that the Seminoles have played in November has been remarkable. I think even the final year, the 2021 season, Florida State started out 0-4, but they finished well in November. A 3-point loss to Florida, a loss to NC State when everybody was sick, but they finished well in November. Wins against Miami, another win against BC. I think they've been impressive late in the year. And if you look at Norvell's record in November, it is very impressive. If you look at what he's done that last month of the year, finishing, it rings so true to what he said back then. The next one kind of brings a tear to your eye when you think about it, but listen to that one.
We're going to be a football team that understands how to respond to adversity. We're also going to be a football team that understands how to respond to success, because success is coming. There are great days ahead, but we have to understand the little steps of what it takes to get there and then what it takes to stay there at an elite level. But that is how we're going to play. That is what we're going to do. And we're going to make you proud each step along the way, not only what we do on the field, but what we do off of it. And I can tell you, I could not be more honored to stand in front of you, to have this opportunity, to be a part of the Florida State football family. I'm going to work extremely hard every day, every single day, to make you proud.
He talked about playing through adversity, and obviously no situation bigger than what we experienced in November, what we experienced when Jordan Travis went down, what we experienced when the guy that you thought was going to lead you to a national championship got hurt and went down. And how'd you respond to that? Well, you took a backup into the swamp and beat them by a couple of scores. And then you took a third stringer up to Charlotte and as an underdog, beat that team by a couple of scores. And their response to adversity has been phenomenal. And now we get to see, I think Norvell's hit on every single thing that he's talked about, but now we get to see how they respond to success. See, through the year, it was easy to have that bunker mentality, that nobody believes in us mentality, that we're going to do this for Jordan at the end of the year mentality. But now you've tasted success. You've risen back to the top of the ACC. You've gotten back your foot on your rivals' throats, winning your 5 of your last 6 against them. Norvell never lost in a game he coached against Miami. Hasn't lost to Napier yet. Probably will never lose to Napier, looking at how that schedule looks over there this year. But you've got a chance to now respond to success. And how will they do it? Well, if it's like anything else that we've talked about today, it's going to be pretty good. You talked about responding to adversity, responding to success, and then also making the fan base proud both on and off the field. You know, just a week and a half ago, Norvell's Foundation, the Keep Climbing Foundation, was taking donations for people impacted by the severe weather that's gone through Tallahassee recently. He absolutely leads from the front on that. That's not necessarily the first thing they've done. That Keep Climbing Foundation that they have, you can follow them on social media, has done a ton of stuff. They pick a bunch of different athletes at Florida State to work with on different fundraising projects. But a guy who absolutely leads from the front there. You think about what people like Dylan Gibbons have done. You think about all the community service that you've seen Jordan Travis and others do as well. But Norvell leads from the front there. And Norvell absolutely makes you proud both on and off the field. He's not involved in any drama, any recruiting stuff. He's not being sued over false promises like other coaches. He makes you proud both on and off the field. And he expects that from his players too. But he doesn't just expect it from his players. He's doing it himself. We got one more clip and we'll get out of here.
And much like I just told those players, I'm not going to stand in front of you today asking for your trust. Just give me an opportunity to show you that I'm trustworthy. Give me an opportunity to show you with my actions what we're going to do, and more importantly, how we're going to do it. Thank you for the welcome. Thank you for the opportunity. And I'm excited about the future of this Seminole football team. Thank you, guys.
He said, I'm not going to stand in front of you and ask for your trust. I'm not going to stand in front of you and ask for you to believe in me. I'm going to show you the work, and then you can decide for yourselves, which was refreshing at that time because the coach that came before him did give a lot of promises. And we all wish things would have worked out differently under Taggart. I get it. But I'm not going to stand in front of you. I'm not going to ask for your trust. I'm going to show you, and we'll go from there. You can make your minds up later. What a powerful message. Something that it took a little bit of time for us to see it. 2020 was rough through the pandemic. And I don't like the idea of a year zero. I hear other coaches use that now. I've heard different people say that. But if there was ever a true year zero, it was that pandemic year. You started to see some glimpses in the second half of 2021. You started to see some things start to turn around then. And then in 2022 and 2023, you look back at him saying, look, I'm not going to ask you to trust me. I'm not going to ask for you to believe in me. But you look at what he's done over the last couple of years, and how could you help but not trust and believe in what he's telling you? Probably the most interesting, or the side note for all of that, is, does that sound familiar to you? Some of you on social media probably picked up on it immediately. Does Mike Norvell asking you to not trust him, to not believe in him, just watch his work and then make up your mind, does that sound familiar to anybody? Because it's exactly what the Battle's End told you, and I didn't put two and two together until I rewatched this press conference this week. But that's what the Battle's End told you when they started. You think those two are in lockstep? You think our university and our collective are in lockstep right now? They delivered the same exact message. They told you the same exact thing. We're not asking for your support. We're not asking for money. Mike Norvell says, I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm not asking you to believe in me. I'm going to do work, and then you make up your mind. And that's what the Battle's End said too. Hey, we're not asking for anything. We're not needing you to give us any money. We're not asking for donations. Heck, they went 6 months without asking for donations. But watch us work and then decide if you think we're worthy of supporting. Right now, the Battle's End is the second largest collective based on donors, as far as I'm aware, in the country. If you've made it this far in this video and you've watched this much and you've recalled how much Mike Norvell kept his promises to you, maybe it's time to consider being a Battle's End member today as well. You can find a link to that in the description. If you have questions about it, you can shoot comments down below. But I leave you with all of that to say, if you're not impressed by the work Mike Norvell's done, and you're not impressed by the work the Battle's End's done, what will it take for you? What will it take for you to finally get there? I think Mike Norvell hit an absolute home run during this press conference, but it's one thing to win the press conference. It's another thing to back it all up. And 4.5 years later, us look at it and say, he was spot on the entire time. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you guys for watching. We'll talk with you soon. Go Noles.